Welcome to the Sinopia demo for the week of October 28th, 2019. This is part of Sinopia Work Cycle 2. I'm Michelle Futornik, the Sinopia product owner, and I'm going to be showing you a bunch of new features for this release. I'm using the development environment to show you the features, and I'll also be referring to the stage environment to show you the before and after for some of the new features. So the first new feature has to do with searching Sinopia. Currently, when you do a search in Sinopia, we just show you the title and you can click on it to open the resource. In this forthcoming release, we show additional metadata about each resource that's found by your search. We show the type of the resource, the group where it's saved, and the date and time that it was last modified. And this time and date is in the GMT time zone. And we allow you to sort by some of these parameters. So what this does is it lets you see by searching for everything and then sorting by modified date newest first, you can then see the most recently created or updated items easily in Sinopia. You'll also notice these two new buttons. So the title is not linked anymore. Instead, we're offering this edit button and this new copy button. So previously, you could open the resource within Sinopia, but if you had wanted to copy it, you would have had to open it and then copy. Now you're able to copy it directly from the search page or open the actual resource for editing. So previously, we were only searching title fields. So in this record, for example, I found it because dinosaurs was in the title. But if I try to search for another string from this record, like this date, or something from this note, let's try that. I wouldn't find it because we were only searching titles. In this latest release, we are indexing and allowing you to search any literal in the resource. So I've got the same similar record here with the date and the note. And in our new release, I could search that string and find the record, or some of the text from the note field and find it that way. Also, in the current iteration of Sinopia, we only index resources that have a title. So if I created a different type of resource, like this one that just has notes, I'd save it, it gets a URI, but I can't find it because we didn't index that resource because it didn't have a title. Now in our latest release, we are indexing any resource, no matter what. So here I've found it. It doesn't have a title, so there's no title to put in this column, but instead we're putting the URI here. And you'll notice that it got sorted below these other two resources. That's because even though we are indexing all the fields, we're still giving more weight to those that are titles, those resources that have titles. And because we're now indexing every resource, not just resources with the title, that means you can search for any resource by its URI. Now, when we index titles currently, we're only considering bibframe title properties as titles. In this release, we're adding some RDA properties that are now considered titles. So I'm going to search for some resources I know are already in here that use RDA properties. So we'll look at one of those. You see here's the title, but if we look at the RDF, then we see it's not a bibframe property, it's an RDA property, but we're still treating it as a title, meaning that the result gets ranked more highly in the search results tab, and we show you the title as the label of the result. On this page, there's a couple other new features to show. One is the copy URI button has been made more button-like, and it also now gives you some feedback when you click it, so you know that the URI was indeed copied to your clipboard. And another new feature, when you're previewing a resource description that's pretty long, we've added a scroll bar. Previously, you weren't able to scroll through the entire preview. Now you can do that. Now I'm going to head over to the Resource Templates tab to show you some new features there. The first one, requested by our users, is the ability to get a shareable URL for any resource template. So you can now do that. Click on the resource template. And in the browser bar here, this URL will now be a link that you can share with somebody else or save for yourself as a bookmark for templates that you want to get back to frequently. You just paste this in your browser and this template will open. You could just use this pattern also to find what the URL will be for any of these templates. And we made some improvements in how errors are handled when you open a resource template that has an issue. So I'm going to go back to stage here just to show how it works now. So I'm trying to open this template and it seems like nothing's happening. There is an error, but it's all the way at the top of the page, so I didn't see it. If I try the same thing in the new release, then we nicely bring you back to the top of the page so you can see what the problems are. And we've separated, if there's multiple error messages, we've separated them out so it's easier for you to read. Here's how it looks now. They were all combined into one box. In the messaging, we also removed a message when you're uploading a new version of an existing template that proved to be a little bit confusing. If you were uploading one that already exists, we prompt you whether you want to overwrite, and we would post this message here, prompting user, and that message would stay there while it was updating, which turned out to be a little bit confusing. Now, we do ask you if you want to overwrite existing ones, but we don't show you that prompting message. Another great new feature is that you can now upload a resource template. It doesn't have to be in a profile. So you probably know from previous experience that if you had tried to upload something that is just a resource template, you would get this error message. The profile you provided was not in an acceptable format. And you would have to go change that resource template into a profile. We've improved the upload here so that you can upload something that is just a resource template, and it treats it just fine. You'll have no errors. One more thing I want to show about the search tab was a new external resource. So we had Discogs listed here before, but it wasn't activated. Now the Discog search is live and working, and we have two sub-authorities, masters and releases. So these searches now both work for Discogs. And then you have your copy icon if you want to copy these descriptions into a resource template. Now to show you a couple bug fixes in the editor. First one had to do with when you were doing a lookup. Let's go to stage so I can show you how it looks currently. If you're doing a lookup with extended context, so here, one of those sources being searched is the Library of Congress subject headings. And for those, we give more context. If you used the arrow key to go down through the results, when you landed on one with a white background, the text disappears because it turns white. And in the tan background, it turns white and is really hard to read. So we fixed that here in the latest release. We use different highlighting so you can still see where you are. And the other bug that was fixed has to do with the tooltips. Previously, if the resource template creator added a guiding statement or help text to the resource template, then you could mouse over the field name and you would see what the help text was. Then we have changed that to add a little eye icon, which is useful to tell you which fields do have help text. But in the current release, the mouse over stopped working. But we fixed it to change it so instead of mousing over, you can click on the eye and see the tooltip. And this is actually nicer than the mouse over because you can have more than one tooltip open at a time, and it'll stay there when you leave the field. So you can have multiple tooltips open if you want to look at more than one at a time. And the final thing that I want to show is the new export feature. We've added an exports tab, and this is how you'll get access to the weekly export that we plan on doing. So you just click this tab and you'll see zip files for each group's resources, as well as all of Sinopia. And then you can download and expand these zip files. They're in JSON LD format, and we plan to post a new export file weekly. And that concludes this week's Sinopia demo.